awards. And we're absolutely thrilled to be here this evening to welcome so many people here. I don't know how many people, there's a lot of people here this evening. And I just want to tell you just a couple of things about this evening and what the awards have been about. So you've got the context for the whole thing. As you all know, Mizvah Day was in November, and we are very aware that whilst we know how many organisations take part on Mizvah Day, which is about just over 700 organisations around Mizvah Day projects this year, what we don't always know about is the projects that they're actually running. So we know a certain amount, but the more we find out, the more we realise what amazing projects people are doing. Projects that make a huge difference to local communities, to local charities, that bring people together, who don't know each other. A huge number of people, we did a survey, over 80% of people said that what Mizvah Day does is bring them into contact with people that they don't know and weren't going to know. So it plays an enormously important role. And a lot of those relationships with the charities and with the other people go on and develop, and then people do it again next year on Mizvah Day again. So it's a sort of win-win situation. And we wanted to know more about those projects. And when we started to hear about how fantastic those projects were, we thought actually we should have awards. And we should showcase the projects that people are doing and let other people know just what amazing things are being done on Mizvah Day and what difference it can make. Just so you know what we did, we asked for nominations for the awards. We divided it into categories, and then we shortlisted the people who'd been nominated. And after that, actually, it's all out of our hands. So we put the whole thing out to vote, and we didn't know ourselves who had won until this morning. So we had an amazing 4,500 votes, which is a testament to the people who've been taking part in the projects, who've been running the projects, and just lovely that so many people got involved. And so genuinely, we didn't know until this morning who was done, and every single one of the projects that was shortlisted easily could have won, and we would have been delighted that they had won if they had. But the nature of awards, of course, is they can't, but they've all been fantastic projects. I just want to say a couple of quick thank yous. Dan at the end will say more thank yous, but I want to thank, first of all, the Jewish Chronicle. Stephen's here to represent the Jewish Chronicle and say a few words in a minute, but it's been a wonderful partnership with the Jewish Chronicle, with the team, Raymond and Lee as well, and Rosa, who work with us. Thank you so much for partnering with us on our first awards. It's been really special, and we hope that it's benefited the JC as well. I want to thank the JW3, of course, for hosting us, for the trustees of Mizvah Day, who are unsung heroes who don't normally get mentioned, and many of them are in the room, all of the nominees, many of whom are in the room, and I also want to thank our funders, without whom we absolutely couldn't do it. We don't ask anyone for money on Mizvah Day, but it costs money to run Mizvah Day. We do it on a shoestring, we do it on a tiny budget, but we can't do it without a budget and without a small staff. So I really, really appreciate both the funders and our staff, actually, who make a fantastic contribution to all of it. And as I say to all of you who have come tonight, it wouldn't have been worth doing at all if we hadn't had the buzz of this evening. So thank you all so much for coming along too. I'm now going to hand over to Stephen Pollard, who's the editor of the JC, who's going to say a few words. Before I hand over to Ashley Blaker, who's going to be our MC for this evening, and who's going to chivvy us through the awards. So, Stephen, thank you.
Thank you very much, Laura. It's a huge privilege to be here on behalf of the JC. You don't need me to tell you what an amazing institution Mizvah Day is. People talk about the British Jewish community. When you go abroad, people sort of think there's a caricature of Anglo Jewry that we somehow sort of stultified and meek. And actually, when you look at, I took over the JC in 2008, just at the same time really a few weeks before Mitzvah Day became a registered charity. So I feel a particular connection with Mitzvah Day. It's as old as I am, as it were, as editor of the JC. And I was told when I took over, there's nothing going on in the British Jewish community. Outsiders would tell me that. Just could not be further from the truth. The problem that I have as editor of the JC every week is what not to put in the paper rather than what to put in the paper. And nothing exemplifies that more than Mitzvah Day, which is one of the most brilliant creations of any community anywhere in the world. It's a fantastic thing, and we can be so proud of it. And it's such a brilliant testimony to its success that when we partnered with Mitzvah Day, we didn't know how many people would vote. Nothing like that had ever been tried before for Mitzvah Day. So we stuck it up on the website, gave it some publicity, and it's such a fantastic testimony to how popular Mitzvah Day is everywhere in the community, that within days, 4,500 votes, as Laura said. That's incredible for the first ever Mitzvah Day award. So it's a huge privilege for me to be here and represent the JC, and to wish you, those of you who don't know whether you've won or not, to wish you good luck. And thank you to everyone.
Introduce myself. Okay. That was strange. I thought I was going to be introduced. So, well, anyway. Good evening. Thank you very much. Good evening. It is an honour for me to be here at the first Mitzvah Day Awards. My name is Ashley Blaker. Unless you're my rabbi who signed the letter banning JW3, in which case my name is David Badil. Now, some of you may have been aware, actually, that last year I performed a tour in the UK, during which I did a routine slagging off Shabbat UK. And then a couple of months later, they asked me to host their Havdalah event. And then I also did a routine slagging off Mitzvah Day, and then they asked me to host this awards. So before I do anything this evening, I just wanted to start off by slagging off the Royal Variety performance. It's worked twice, it's bound to work again. Generally, actually, one thing that's very interesting, when you're a comedian and you perform at events like this, you can always guarantee that on the morning of the event, they will ring you up and go through what you can and can't say. And if you want a good indication of how I am unlike every other comedian in the world, all the other comedians in the world get called up and are told, please, keep it clean, no swearing, don't talk about drugs, don't talk about sex. Not me. They rang me this morning and said, look, it's called Mitzvah Day, but don't be too Jewish. Don't use too much Yiddish. Not everyone in the audience will have learned Gemara. Basically, every other comedian gets told, keep it clean. I get asked, can you keep it a bit less clean? Also, they said to me, they warned me and said, look, we know that you often perform for an exclusively Jewish audience. They said there will be some non-Jewish people in the audience tonight, some of whom are nominated for awards, so please don't give away any of our secrets. Okay, so Jews in the room, let's keep shtum, okay? That meeting next week when we're deciding who the next Prime Minister is going to be, let's not mention that. They also wanted me to say, final thing they wanted me to say right at the top, they wanted me to apologise that there aren't enough seats and some people have had to stand. But this is actually intentional. It was in the spirit of Mitzvah Day. You've all been given the opportunity to do the mitzvah of offering up your seat to someone who needs it more than you. So anyone who's sat here, don't look so pleased with yourself. You're only sat down because they all think that you look really old or pregnant. Now, genuinely, it is a real privilege to be here tonight for the first Mitzvah Day Awards. Now, I will be honest, I don't actually get involved with Mitzvah Day myself. It's partly... It's partly through laziness. It's also partly, I think, just being too frum for it. You know, I'm putting on Tollus and Tefillin every day. When did picking up litter in the park suddenly become a mitzvah? You know, what about not castrating any man, beast or fowl? That's a mitzvah, let me do that on Mitzvah Day. It's a lot less hassles than getting cold and wet in the park. And I absolutely refuse to believe God would have given us any mitzvah which involved wearing Wellington boots. They're just not a Jewish item of clothing. One thing I am, though, grateful tonight that this awards is a bit more narrow and just basically involves the definition of mitzvah as being a good deed. Because if it did involve all 613 mitzvahs, this awards would go on all night. Now it's time for the 474th award, Best Killing of an Amalekite. And actually, I am so frum, I actually have done all 613 mitzvahs. And I actually had nothing left to aim for. So I've started working my way for all the mitzvahs of the New Testament as well. I've turned the other cheek, and I've blessed those that curse me. I'm currently working on Be Not of Doubtful Mind. I think I've done it, but I'm not sure. Genuinely, some of you booed me there. I do. I might not get so involved in mitzvah, but I do some good deeds, definitely. For example, I'm very keen on entertaining old people. It's just that while some people do it for free on Mitzvah Day, I make them pay when I perform in Hull, Sheffield, Ilford and Bournemouth. And it's great, actually, because, you know, I'm making money and I feel like I'm doing a mitzvah at the same time. Sometimes they nod off, but not a problem. I can try out some new bits, no one's the wiser. During one gig last year, I actually Davened Mariv halfway through. It was great, no one seemed to notice. But one problem with performing for older people is they do like to arrive at my shows nice and early. I have no idea why this is. They've got less time left. Don't waste it sitting around waiting for me to stop. So when I go and do a show in Bournemouth, I would be setting up while being watched by 15 OAPs having their tea and biscuits. I mean, I don't want to sound arrogant, but does Michael McIntyre have to put up with this? You know, I'd be trying to do a mic test, feel obliged to have a chat. Start working the room, what's your name? Where'd you come from? That's a nice new hip, where'd you get it done? By the time I got on stage, I'd basically done an entire show already. So anyway, very nice to be here. And I was looking down the list of nominees today, and let me just say, I've got absolutely no idea who's going to win any of them, but they are incredibly impressive, and particularly impressed as well by all the interfaith projects that have gone on. It's wonderful to see Jewish people working closely with Christians, Muslims, and other religions that aren't as good as ours. Pushing mother. Genuine, and I might look like your typical closeted Haredi Jew, but I do have lots of connections to other religions. For example, I daven in a Hasidic shtibel, which is all shtreimels, you know, the big furry hats and silk coats and white stockings. And I reckon I've got to be the only member of the shul to have done a PhD in early modern church history and Christian theology. For some reason, none of the Vishnitsas went down that route. And I do come into contact with non-Jewish people and with people of other religions all the time. But for example, when I'm out doing the shopping, say, I can always guarantee at least one person will come up to me and say, Shalom. For a laugh, I sometimes reply, Salaikum as-salam. It not half confuses them. And most of the time, they turn out to be very well-meaning, but incredibly overbearing non-Jewish Zionists who will see me in the supermarket and start calling out to me from about 5 hours away, Shalom, my brother, shalom. I always pretend not to hear them and just start walking in the opposite direction, but they don't give up that easily. Shalom, my brother, shalom. After a while, I've run out of aisles, and he's pinned me up against the freezer cabinet. Shalom, my brother. Now, I just want to tell you, I have studied the Old Testament, and it says there that the land of Israel was given to Abraham by Elohim, and you are not to give up 1 inch of that land. You hear me, my brother? You do not give up 1 inch. And I always say to them, like, I'm incredibly flattered that you think I'm that influential. But it really isn't down to me. You know, Netanyahu has never rung me up and gone, yeah, actually, we're thinking about giving up more settlements to the Palestinians. Just wanted to get your opinion first.